Good evening and welcome to Direct Line Live. My name is Nicole Bennett. I'm the first vice chair of MDGOP and your host for this evening. My co host for this evening is none other than the absolutely amazing Corinne Frank, our executive director at MDGOP. Good evening, Corinne.
Hi, hello Nicole, how are you?
I'm fantastic, super fantastic. I'm waiting on fall weather like Christmas. Cannot wait. Joining us tonight is another good friend of mine, Julie Giordano, who's running for county executive in Wicomico County. Good evening, Julie.
Good evening, Nicole. How are you? Hi, Corinne. How are you?
Hello, my dear. How's everything? How's the campaign going?
We're busy, just doing our thing. So we didn't have much time, and once the primary wrapped up, and so yeah, we just kept our foot on the gas, and we are, just doing our thing. Busy door knocking, meeting with different groups, and hoping to make a difference here. So we'll see.
That's fantastic. I have had the pleasure of hearing you speak several times, most recently at the rally for Wicomico, where you got a very interesting endorsement from someone I admire very much, my dear, dear friend, Sheriff Mike Lewis from Wicomico County, who is an all around stand up guy. Cute story as a side. Julie knows I'm a fan of the good sheriff, and she went out at, at a party and bid on a bobblehead of Sheriff Lewis, and made a gift of it, that bobblehead to me, which is in a very place of esteem at my private home office. Still in a box. It's still in a box. But Julie, tell us how much that particular endorsement means to your campaign.
Oh, it means everything to me. And it's one of those endorsements that I think any candidate in Wicomico County, maybe even on the shore, just looks forward to. And so, just having him behind me and knowing that I have not only him, but the FOP endorsement and the state FOP endorsement and the police officers behind me is just, there's just nothing more honoring than that. And so he was kind of that icing on the cake. And so he, is going to do it his way, of course. He's not going to do anything, small. And so I was kind of hoping that with Andy Harris there and everybody kind of, embracing this whole rally, that he would do it then. And maybe the bobblehead put him over the top, it could have. So it was worth it. So it definitely was. And it was great. I've actually met with him today as well. So we were kind of rehashing some things and looking at some things, moving forward in the public safety realm, since it's such a hot topic right now, and just making sure that we're on the same page and kind of filling him in on some things that I want to move forward with. So it was great. It definitely was. It was a great evening all around. So.
It was a wonderful evening. If you've never been to a political party in Wicomico, doesn't matter what day of the week you have it, it is packed. It's elbow to elbow, and people are just there having a good time. It's a very supportive area for Republican candidates. And one of the things that I like is the collaborative spirit. It's not necessarily about one candidate. There were many candidates there at the rally. It was about party unity. And I think that's a really hot topic now. Would you not agree, Corinne?
Yes, actually, that's a good segue into our new MDGOP hashtag, which is MDGOP United. We went from MDGOP ready because we spent all of the first part of the cycle getting ourselves ready. We were going to be ready for 22. So now the primaries hit. We are ready, and now we are MDGOP United, which will be a big theme at another topic that I want to bring up tonight, which will be our red, white, and blue dinner. So we'll talk about that later, too.
Woo, woo, woo. MDGOP United. For all of us who have the hashtag MDGOP ready saved.
Gotta switch it.
I don't know if I'm going to make the switch. I don't know if I'm going to make the switch.
Oh, we'll be happy with both.
Don't know if I could make the switch. So,
Julie, when you have a bunch of 20-something-year-old staff, you gotta stay relevant with the hashtag.
For sure. Somewhere Lily is going, you can do it. You can make the switch. She's cheering me on from University of Maryland somewhere, right?
Yes.
So, Julie, thinking of Wicomico and how community-centric the elected officials in Wicomico are. I had a very interesting conversation with a man named Samson, I think his name was, at that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and he's representative of the Haitian community. Have you done any outreach with that particular minority group? I know it's a very growing group in the area.
It is, and actually, yeah. So it's a great segue because of me being a teacher, and so I teach a lot of their kids. One student in particular was just amazing, and I wrote him a letter of recommendation, and he got into Washington College, and he's playing soccer there, and so it's that part is like one of those heartwarming stories, and so a lot of their stories are very much that American dream, you know, coming here and building this legacy with their family, and then seeing, you know, the fruits of their labor, just working so hard. And Samson was so wonderful to reach out. He was one of the people that actually reached out. You know, during any election, you have, you know, horrible things said about you, smears and things, and they just kind of throw anything at the wall to try to see what sticks. And one of them, I think there are some people in our community that do have an issue with the Haitian population. And so why not? Why not tag me with it and saying that I have an issue with the Haitian population? And I do have to give them such credit, because not only did they have their students kind of reach out to me like, hey, do you really have an issue with us? But, you know, Samson coming out to the event was great. And we are actually planning on a whole event with the community in itself. So yeah, it's one of those things where I've reached out in my own capacity, student wise, but they kind of, you know, came to me, and I thought it was just so well of them to not just take whatever they heard, you know, taking that as truth and really kind of seeking it out and coming to the event. And so, yeah, I'm actually waiting on him to talk about a date that I can kind of collaborate with the whole community and talk to them about what my platform is, and for them to know me as a candidate and not just a person that they're hearing rumors about, and see, you know, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I think the Haitian population in general, the community is pretty conservative. And so I think that a lot of the things that I believe we're going to align with.
Yeah, we see a lot of them in our medical practice there in Salisbury. And I can tell you that they are conservative people. They believe in the strength of family. They are very community centric. And so I think it's a natural segue between what you're building in Wicomico, what Wicomico already stands for in their particular community, as a part of our greater community. And that was the thing when I spoke with Samson and he kept talking about his community. I said, you mean our community? Because like we're all here, right? Let's not silo people into like these little holes. It's not good for the community. Let's think about ourselves as a whole. And I think the time that he had to share with Sheriff Lewis also helped a great bit. The next question I have might catch you a little off guard.
Oh, no. No, you're okay. Go ahead.
No, not that kind of off guard.
Yeah,
but
no,
I
you're
wanted to touch base with you. And I know this is going to seem like a crazy question, but as someone who travels to Wicomico quite often, tell me where your favorite place is in this beautiful county. What is your
just
favorite?
In general?
Yeah.
Like just in general? Oh gosh, man, we have so many great places here. But in all honesty, I think one of my favorite places, so I live in District 2. So I'm in Hebron, so I'm on the western part of the county. And I think, you know, just scenic wise, one of my favorite places to go, and one place that I took Jack when he was younger, my son, was Roaring Point and Cove Road. It's definitely a hidden treasure, I think, that most of the locals know about. Some of the tourists know. We try to keep it a secret, but it is this wonderful beach right on the Nanticoke River. And, you know, and of course, you know, I think you have to be a beach person to live here. You know, you got to at least enjoy it a little bit. But it's so nice, you know what I mean? And it's one of those like wonderful locations. And so I would probably have to say there, just because, like I said, we've made a lot of memories there. He more so is ready for Ocean City and wants the big beach. But when he was younger, it was definitely a place where we could go and I could kind of relax, and I felt kind of safe with him right there. So it's one of our favorites. And of course, we got to hit up one of our favorite restaurants, Boonies, which is right on the way down there. So.
Wicomico has lots and lots of lovely places. And I think every time I go, I discover something new, which is funny to say because I'm there like 3 days a week. But just generally, just kind of driving around, getting the lay of the land, and you're driving through a neighborhood and you're like, oh my God, is that a beach? You know, let me pull over and see what's going on over here, you know. So it is a wonderful place, and we're really pulling for you in this election. Can you tell me if there are any things platform-wise that is new now that you're at the general versus where you were in the primary? Anything that you've added on?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we definitely stuck with those three major topics of public safety, education, and our economy here. But what has changed more so is we've kind of graduated from the action starts now, because I wanted to show people that I'm working now and I'm showing you that I'm building these relationships and setting that foundation. And we've kind of changed, with GOP changing their hashtag, we've kind of changed ours to this active local leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the best part about that is we have taken, I even think that we've almost redefined grassroots, because we're doing a grassroots initiative where, it's volunteers and people in the community, but we're also bringing them into the government as well. They are a part of it. They feel that they're a part of my campaign. And I think that that part is so nice. So, I have a mailer that's going to go out that talks about the business community and how much they do support me. And it's so nice because they feel like that they're part of, and the process, and they are part of that process. And so bringing them into this, and for them to really understand our form of government. We have a lot of citizens that don't even understand the charter form of government. And so even just educating them on that. A lot of people say, hey, if you win, or when you win, are you still going to be able to teach school? And I try to explain that it's not just, Wacomico County that I'm servicing. We're servicing, the Tri-County area of Worcester and Somerset, because I'm the only executive. They have part-time, commissioners and councilmen and things like that. So I plan to kind of be that, representative of all three. So no, I won't be able to still teach. But that's kind of what's changed, is the fact of, definitely focusing on local issues. I get asked about January 6th or Mar-a-Lago, and I try to really derail from that and just kind of say, we're focusing on Wacomico because there are things that have to be focused here. So, and the other part I think that's changed too is that I have the conservatives. And so I need all the other Republicans to understand that I am for them as well. And even your moderate Democrats and independents. So we're making sure to reach out and not just kind of stick with that conservative base, and making sure that we're hearing the needs and concerns of everyone, across that spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're doing a really good job there, Julie. If I can just interject for a minute, when we look at our polling statewide, the three issues that people are very consistent about are crime, inflation, and their education. Education tends to not be quite as high as the other two, which are pretty neck and neck. But being a teacher, obviously, that's definitely in your wheelhouse. So I know you're probably putting that as one of your top issues. But in addition to that, an interesting data point. There are two women Republican running for county executive this cycle, and one sitting woman Republican who is a county executive. So if you guys all win your race, it'll be a really interesting change in the dynamic of Republican politics. And I've seen in some of the other campaigns, the local leadership piece. I think that was a really important piece that you hit on, because what we've seen, the energy that we're seeing from Republicans really is this: what happened to my schools, and why were my kids' masks so long, and why were my businesses closed? And when you looked at the results of the elections, a lot of that was done on the local level. So this spotlight on, this is why this matters. This is why your school board matters. This is why your county council and your county executive matter, because they make these decisions that are so close to you. So I think highlighting all of those pieces are really, really important. I think you're hitting on all of the right points in your campaign, and I'm really excited for hopefully seeing some really strong Republican women getting in these races.
Agreed. I'm going to tell you, it feels like a movement, more so than an election. What Julie's campaign has successfully done is she's brought in all of the interested parties and said, okay, listen, we don't have to agree on everything, but can we agree that we need safe streets, smarter kids, and everybody here needs to earn a paycheck some way or another? And people bought into that really early because she presented it in a way that not only was it palatable, but it wasn't so philosophical that, people were lost in the sauce. It was simple, straightforward, and plain. And the way that we get there is, one, electing me, right? And this is what you can expect. It made people feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. And I think that's a rare thing in campaigns, in election cycles, but you can feel it. It's a palpable energy, when you're in the room with them and when you're talking to people in the community. It is an amazing thing to be a part of. Absolutely an amazing thing to be a part of. But I credit that to how hard Julie has worked. She's really, really knocked almost every single door that I could think that she needs to knock. She's at every event, she's kissing the baby, shaking the hands, playing softball.
Shaking the babies.
Shaking the babies.
And what we tried to do also was with those 3 topics was kind of showing the linear connection between them. So we need safe schools. And we need our schools, to thrive, and then they're becoming productive members, which is going to help our economy. So we kind of even showed not only are these 3 things important, but also that they're all relatively connected. And so we tried to push for that as well. But I don't know. People are like, I don't know how you're doing this. And now, of course, I'm back to school. So I am teaching. Today was my first day with my 11th graders. And they're very excited. And of course, you have to have that, pardon the pun, but the elephant in the room conversation of, yes, you see my name all over every sign in Wicomico County. And so we had that conversation and they're very excited. And again, bringing them in to be a part of it. And, so they're like, are we allowed to ask you about the election? And I said, before class and after class, I got to keep the politics out of it. So, but they're very excited. So you have kind of people whispering to me, because you don't want too many teachers knowing that you're conservative, other teachers knowing, hey, good luck. And I got you in November. So it is, so, you do have that as well.
It's interesting. So, and I'll just share with you, I'm on the Board of Education in Anne Arundel County. I don't know if you knew that. So certainly for me, education is one of the top issues very consistently as well. And I always appreciate that, especially as a mom. Like, I want somebody who's focused on education. I want somebody who understands it and, is concerned about where it's headed and wants to involve themselves in it. So for me,
and I think
it's always a good issue.
Yeah, not to cut you, I think the hardest thing with education is that you have, education, of course, there's nothing more important than that. And unfortunately, the people that I'm running against numerous times have stated, as county executive, there's nothing we can do but write the maintenance of effort check, for over $50 million or whatever it is, for the county. And as the executive, we don't get involved in school business. And I hear that, just over and over again. And, I've told them, I said, we couldn't think more differently when it comes to this, and I said to, Councilman Davis, who's running against me on the Democratic ticket, I said, if you choose to be uninvolved, then that's up to you. But I, plan to take a different approach. I want to be there on the very first day of school, greeting our kids. I want to attend. We have a great, fundraiser here called Rock and Roll Revival. It's a great show. Nicole, I don't know if you've ever been to it, but it's an amazing show at JMB. I plan to see the kids playing in state championship games, and I plan to attend the drama club performances. And so there are ways to get involved and bringing the community involved, and just reiterating this idea that we should be teaching children, how to think and not what to think. And so just reiterating that at the executive level, I think is important. And knowing that these teachers have somebody that's not involved necessarily, or, at the Board of Ed, but you have somebody in a completely different, wheelhouse, but that is supporting you. And I think that that's important. And so we just have a different approach, when it comes to education. He's very much going to be the check writer. Here it is. And I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm not about that. So
yeah, we're talking about that active local leadership again. And I think that's very seductive for voters, because what if we would have had that during this COVID experience? Things would have been a lot different. We wouldn't have kids who have lost 2 years of education and who are struggling now to kind of get their feet back under them, and teachers, who are struggling to get their feet back under them. It seems to me, as not only as a mom, but in this vein, as an employer, what I'm seeing is kids who are coming into the workforce are not prepared. It's not that they don't have the certifications, the degrees, the paperwork, but what they don't have is work ethic. And that is a direct connection to that 2 years off with COVID. Simple things, basic office etiquette, talking on the telephone, having a professional conversation, or how about this one? Not eating someone else's lunch out of the refrigerator. Now, I know that sounds small,
neighbors.
I know that sounds small, but my office here in Tacoma is almost exclusively women, with the exception of few of the providers are men. And, generally speaking, a very laid back, kind of quirky little family. We like it that way. A visiting physician's medical tech ate someone's lunch. It was mutiny. I thought I was going to have to call the police. They were like, "Oh, pull all her hair out." I'm like, "Okay, well, can we calm down?"
You know who did it?
Yes. There was an investigation, Corinne. I had to do an investigation. I felt
Serious
like
business, yeah.
I should have brought the Mike Lewis bobblehead with me, right?
You
I would drop the glove.
They were like, "Oh, she ate my spicy noodles. She ate
Oh no, not the spicy ones. Not that.
spicy noodles."
Oh man.
So it was a whole hot mess.
They're like, I've had that happen before. You look forward to something and you're like, oh yeah, I brought my lunch, and then especially if you're broke and you don't want to go and spend the money. I would have been mad.
We don't get paid until Friday. So
and teaching 11th graders. I mean, we see that, so, one of the biggest things that I push is that, look, you have 2 years of high school left, and then it's it. And, whether, you decide to go to college or whether you decide to enter the work field, you still have to have this, professional conversation with someone. And it's very hard for them even to understand that dark jeans are not good for an interview. They're my good genes, they've got good genes, and it's just so funny, you hear that. And, and I try very hard, even just as a teacher, to make sure that I'm dressing, professional every single day for them to kind of see it. When they see me in jeans, it's like a huge thing. They're like, oh, I didn't even know you own jeans, and so, but, and I try to explain to them, this is my profession and this is my job and this, and, I want you to kind of see that. But even just the dress, when they, but I have dark jeans. They're dressy. I'm like, look, I can make jeans look great with a pair of like boots and a sweater, but like not good for a job interview, not good. So,
I'm wearing jeans to Matt Morgan's barn party tomorrow. So.
Right. There you go.
That's the perfect place for jeans.
I might wear jeans to Nathan's crab feast. So.
There you go. That's another great place.
Crab feasts, you can do that.
Right.
I think there's an important lesson here too. The tone that you set is certainly something that is acknowledged within the county. The tone that you set at the top is the guiding sort of, structure of how people operate. And if you have a very high standard, that's noticed. And you as a teacher, you said, in my class, I try to dress a certain way because you are setting the example. So I think as county executive, you will do that as well. And so I think that's an important lesson to be learned. Also, power of the purse, very powerful.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't just write the check, you write the check.
Right.
Right.
With exactly. A good check.
I mean, and that's like, that's a large check. I mean, that's the biggest part of our budget. And I think in any county form of government, your education is one of your largest expenditures. Absolutely. So why would you not? When you think of any corporation, they keep saying, well, this is, a CEO position. Okay. So your biggest clients, do you just ignore them? Do you not pay attention to them? Do you not go and visit them? Do you not show that you care about them? I would hope, like, Nicole, in your field, that, your most prominent clients, you're calling and, hey, are you doing okay? Like, are you following up? Are you visiting? I mean, that's just good business. And so, I just think it's kind of ridiculous to think, well, that's all we can do. And that's our lane. I think that's the lane you chose to be in. And, and that's fine, but that's not going to be my lane.
It's the lane of least resistance, to be honest with you, and of low expectations, which is a great segue. And I know this is going to sound kind of harsh, but there is this, form of degradation that goes along with low expectations. And when we talk about education, not expecting our children to perform at their very best sets a really bad tone much further down the line. I mean, I back to hiring some staff, and the young lady came in scrubs, and in my profession, that's perfectly, if you want to interview in scrubs, I'm happy to see you in scrubs. But, she just didn't believe in herself. She did not believe that she should have this job. She did not believe that she was worth, the $20 an hour starting salary that we have here in Montgomery County. She just didn't feel like she was worth it. And I asked her, why don't you think you're worth it? She said, no, I'll do it for 14. I said, I can't pay you 14. Like the minimum wage is $15.50. Nobody's going to prison here, right? And she says, but there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Now compare that to about 3 years ago when there were young ladies, fresh out of the same particular academy that came in demanding $35 an hour, in belly shirts and piercings and whatnot. It is a very dramatic difference, and expecting less from people really does something to them psychologically. And so I'm happy to hear that in Wicomico, what you're running for is to be a person who says, listen, we have standards and this is what the standard is. I'm not just going to write a check. I'm showing up. I'm showing up to the softball games. I'm showing up because you need to see that this is what an executive does. This is how we love back our community. And I think that's one of the reasons why Sheriff Lewis is so loved, because he shows up. I mean, he shows up to all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long, long way. Showing up is a really big part of the battle. Now, showing up with a check makes you a rock star.
It's even better, right?
Delegatism always says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that is a golden rule in politics.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, and as a teacher, I think it's even more important because, you're that, sometimes you're that hero, you know what I mean? And and it sounds so cliche, I know, but I mean, there are kids that just look forward, and when they see you out in that audience, it makes them feel, like, oh my gosh, she does care. And so, and when I look at our teaching field now, kids haven't changed. I mean, maybe in their attire, that they think, but for the most part, kids haven't changed. I taught middle school kids in 2007. And I even in high school, you see that same type of kid. They're still kids. But what has changed is us as adults, because we have, kids toe the line. They're going to toe the line because that's what kids do. And we as adults have just moved the line and moved the line and moved the line. And it's such a disservice. And so when I'm talking to small businesses, they will say, like, man, could you please prepare them? Because that's what we're seeing is kids that are not prepared. They don't understand that if they just don't show up, that they're fired. Like, they just don't get that. They don't understand responsibility, and that you have a commitment, and, a job is a commitment. And, and so, we're trying very hard, to try to, kind of move past that, especially for our small businesses. And that was the other part. As an executive, I want to bring the communities back in. Stakeholders need to be a part of our education system.
Absolutely.
Our kids in Wicomico County, it is a very rural county. And so, not every kid is going to college, and that's just a reality, and that's okay. We have airplane mechanics that are going to be making $85,000 a year that are coming out with a certification and not a college degree. So it's important for them to know there are so many opportunities for you. And so I want these small businesses and people in this community to say, hey, these are the opportunities for you. And to make it, them a part of it as well, because they're natural. I mean, it's just a natural fit, especially with kids that are, 17 and 18 years old.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Great segue. So when we take a look at the population of the counties that are on the Eastern Shore, the lower shore, they're seeing a drop in population. Now, some people are saying that's because they're moving to Florida. God bless them. But I really think that as a community, a larger community, thinking of the lower shore, what will you do as county exec to make sure that Wicomico is a place where kids can graduate, become educated or certified, and stay on the shore?
Yeah.
What can you do to help that?
Oh gosh, that is the $1 million question, right? So we have done so many things. Like, we've partnered with Warwick Community College and even Salisbury University, but even more so with Warwick, because it's a little bit easier with it being a community college.
Sure.
Where we'll pay for you to become an EMT. We'll pay for you to be a paramedic. But what they didn't do was say, but you also have to give us 2 years, 5 years experience. So what happens is we're training them, and that's fantastic. And I'm happy to do so. But then they're going to Anne Arundel making, $25, $30, dollars an hour, and we, so I think again, and that's kind of bringing in what we need here. So, an easy fit would be, so our average volunteer fireman is about 55 years old. That's a huge issue for us. Yeah, I mean, that's huge.
Wow.
Our cadet program, I think the largest cadet program is in Powellville, and we have like 4 cadets, maybe 5. And that's our largest. So that is definitely and I don't want to use the term dying population because, I don't want to lose any of them, but that's kind of what's happening. But these students don't realize that, we could, partner with Warwick or partner with our CE program and train them in, being firefighter one or an EMT or a paramedic.
Mhm.
And then you have a job automatically. And then
Yeah.
showing them, the good things about Wacomico. We have a great county.
Absolutely.
We have, an airport and a civic center. And yes, they all need some revamping. Don't get me wrong, but they're underutilized right now. But we have, the second largest, the port, and we've got the airport. I mean, so we have things here. And I think that we've just done a really terrible job with tourism and showing people why it's so great to be 30 minutes from the beach. I mean, it's an easy sell to me. I mean, that's an easy sell. And so I think a lot of that goes with having a great relationship with your tourism department, with your human resources department, making sure that these people, I mean, we have 81 vacancies in our county right now. I should have a pile of applications this big for a county job, and we just don't have it. So I think it's going to definitely be imperative again. And, again, it's that tagline of active local leadership, bringing all of these things together, and having these kids understand that, you do have a great opportunity here. We should be tapping into Salisbury University. We don't even have an internship program right now with the executive office. I want to bring that back.
Absolutely.
And showing them, and even if they use Wacomico as a stepping stone, we do have them for a couple of years gaining that experience. And I'm okay with that. But, to not offer anything, hey, we'll give you that free, certification in, firefighter one or paramedic or whatever it is you're getting, but you do need to give back to our county a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to see that.
We have volunteer firefighters in Charles County as well, and some paid, but not many. But I do remember distinctly that they had huge recruiting efforts. They have their annual banquet, which is a bunch of fun, and they have electeds come in, jibberjaw and that kind of thing. Oh, we're so happy for you. But mostly to recruit new young people. They go to the high schools and talk to them. They show up at their football games and talk to them. So it is very much like a full-time job, going out, finding them, dusting them off, making them believe. And of course, carrot and stick, you get this education, we'll pay for it. You give us a couple years. And in those couple years, you're shooting your best shot, Madam County Executive. You're telling them how great Wacomico is.
Right.
Find yourself a nice spouse, settle down. Here's a nice house,
Right. Well, and affordable, I mean, just, and, there's nothing that compares. I mean, I know kind of all real estate is up at this point in time, but, I mean, my sister and her husband just bought a house right in the heart of Catonsville. It was $800,000.
Sure.
A beautiful, I mean, don't get me wrong, beautiful house. That same house would be down here for, 300. So I think, that you also have to talk about that cost of living and the value of life, where you're going. And so I think that Wacomico has a lot to offer. I mean, I came from Baltimore and I'm here and I stayed, and I go up to visit and I'm ready to come back. So there is, there are good things here. And I think that we just need to do a better job, kind of advertising, marketing our county.
Yep. I'm going to send you my resume as soon as you're elected. Right.
Okay. Good, because I got 81 vacancies, so I'm sure I can fit you somewhere.
I want the tourism job. That's what I want. I want the tourism job.
Hey, you would be great at it, because you could say, I've traveled this entire state. Really mean it.
I really have. I have really traveled this entire state, and I can tell you that Wacomico is one of my favorite counties, and for a myriad of reasons. One, not just the natural beauty, the people in Wacomico are incredibly kind. I mean, at first glance, I was like, this is not natural. People aren't nice. When I was building my medical office, I got caught in one of what you guys like to call a rainstorm, but by comparison, it was raining left or right instead of up and down, right? So I'm standing there in front of the Home Depot with this refrigerator that I had to bring to my new medical office. And I was in awe of the rain. So a guy comes out, he's like, I'll be right back. I've never seen this man before in my life. He goes to get the pickup truck. He puts me and the refrigerator on the truck, takes it to my office, helps me unpackage it, puts the door on for me, because who knew that refrigerators, you could choose what side the door is going to be on.
Don't come with the door on.
who knew, right? And did all of that, you know. He did all of that and asked me for absolutely nothing, refused any money, and ended up being my very first patient at that particular medical center. But just a nice guy. You know, I don't mean to sound judgy at all, but here in Montgomery County, if a guy would have put my, you know, refrigerator on the back of a truck, I'm calling the police because I'm never going to see it again. Right? It's gone and it's gone permanent, right? But it's just a different pace of life. The values are different. What people value is a little bit different there. And it is palpable. You can feel it. You can feel it everywhere you go. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's some utopian paradise. It's Maryland, right? But it's a different type of Maryland. It's a slower Maryland. And definitely it leaves a mark on you. You know, you don't know you're missing it until you're gone. But once you're gone, you're like, man, I can't wait to go back to Wacomico. So definitely one of my favorite counties. Absolutely. Corinne has a guest.
Say hi, Colette.
Hi, Colette.
Hi.
You're chairman of the Republican Party.
Yes.
Hello, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
She gives everybody her business card out at meetings.
Official business card.
Love it.
Thing you've ever seen. Like,
Starting her early. Yeah, she knows how to network.
the cutest. So that brings us to an interesting point. We have coming up some very significant events with MDGOP. Our annual fundraiser, the Red, White, and Blue dinner, is always such a good time. We have such a good time at Red, White, and Blue. Last year we had Mike Pompeo, which was a blast. This year we're having Governor Kristi Noem, which should be absolutely amazing. And this year of the Republican woman, the year that we're going to have 3 female Republican county executives.
Yeah, fingers
crossed.
And just an interesting point, we got Maryland Live last year for Mike Pompeo, and it was, we sold over 700 tickets. They had just a little bit more capacity than that. This year, our venue only holds 500. So if you would like tickets, you must buy now. So
get your tickets now.
Get your tickets now. But yeah, we're very excited to host her. She's going to be fantastic. I've seen her speak before. She's incredible. So we're excited to invite her to Maryland.
Oh, and her book is fantastic. I don't know if you've read her book, but it is fantastic. So
we will have several for sale at this event.
So bring extra money. Bring extra money. And if there are a bunch of you, get a table. Don't be cheap. Get a table. Sit down with your friends, break bread, and have a great time. The Red, White, and Blue dinner, it's not about the food, it's about the company. You know, being in the room with like-minded Republicans, and some that may not be, you know, like-minded, but being in the room with a bunch of friends, new and old, it's really kind of akin of like a family reunion. People you haven't seen in like a year. It's a great time to catch up, to kind of put together your plan for the rest of the year. If you're someone who does a lot of grassroots volunteering, this is a great time to connect with candidates that you may or may not know. Everyone should be at this dinner. There's no reason not to be there. It's not at Maryland Live. For people who complained about it being at Maryland Live, you know, I don't want to walk through the casino, all of that kind of thing. This is a very nice venue. It's going to be a heck of a party. If we have not learned anything about Corinne Frank, is that this woman throws a party like nobody's business. She throws a party. So everyone should have a ticket, and we're going to look very forward to having everyone there. Julie, I understand that you're going to have a table.
I definitely am. Yes. I kind of sent out the message to my Delmarva conservative movement people. And so they're very excited. And so, and we have some of my administrative team coming. So we're looking at it as, again, pardon the cliche, but little team building activity and
exactly
lives kind of coming together. Yeah. So yeah, it is definitely going to be a really, really fun event. But as I said, I will need the table next to Nicole Bennett and friends. So.
So if you have never seen Julie, who's running for county executive in Wicomico County, maybe you live in Anne Arundel or Frederick County, and you've seen this podcast and you're like, hey, I really want to meet this lady. She will be at our Red, White, and Blue dinner, so you can come find her.
Yeah.
And bring
her and get her autograph. Yes, ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because listen, campaigns don't run themselves, right? It's an uphill push, and what I hear significantly from people who don't live in very red areas is that, oh, it's easy for Republicans there. It's easy for them to win. They still have to stand up campaigns just like you would in Montgomery, just like you would in Anne Arundel, just like you would in Baltimore County. It takes the same amount of effort. When I tell you that Julie has worked hard, Republican primaries in very red areas are difficult. Yes. It's like your general, except for these are like your kissing cousins, So how low do you go on a guy that you're going to serve on a central committee with, right? How does that happen when you're going to have to kiss and make up and move forward a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later? It's very much a difficult process, and it's kind of walking a tightrope, much like being a vice chairman of the party. It's like having a bunch of kids. You love all your kids equally, right? Everybody's special, everybody's wonderful, and the kids break out in a fight. Well, I want to be the person who represents the party. So you have to kind of walk that fine line with them. But these campaigns aren't any cheaper than if she were running in a deep blue area. She still needs signs. She still has to have, ad buys. She still has to have mailers. She's knocking doors herself. If you're not a friend or a follower of her Facebook page, if you ever want to see what people in Wicomico do after work, all you have to do is look at Julie's Facebook page, because she's out there with them with their dogs, they're gardening, they're bringing groceries in the house, and she's steady talking to them about her campaign, handing them literature. She's really getting after it. And one of the things that I think I heard over and over again at the rally for Wicomico is very much how pleased the other electeds were and how hard you're working for it. Again, it's not any easier. It's different, but it's not any easier, and it does require money. So if your chosen candidate did not make it through the primary and you're still kind of licking your chops, can I say this officially? Get over it. Officially suck it up. Yeah. Go ahead, call Dirk. You can tell him.
I was trying to think of something to say. This is not officially sanctioned.
Right. Call Dirk.
These views are not expressed by the MDG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Is my phone going to ring? I was joking, Dirk. It's a joke.
So I will say there has to be some, to put it a little more eloquently, there has to be some level of, we are on the same team. We must acknowledge that we either rise together or we sink separately. I'm sort of bastardizing a quote from Benjamin Franklin, but you see what I'm saying. we hang together or we hang apart. That was sort of the idea behind the MDGOP United. We understand that some of these primaries were nasty, but you are now facing off against Democrats who don't want to argue over the minutia of how big your tax break is. They don't want to give you a tax break at all, or they want to. They're not going to argue with you over who is the more pure on the anti-masking debate. They wanted to mask your kids for years. So we have to have a come to Jesus moment. We have to acknowledge that when we're on the same team, we need to support our teammates.
I agree. I think in all seriousness, your loyalty should be to the party platform, right? Candidates come and go. This next cycle, there'll be a whole nother crop of candidates, but your loyalty should be to the platform. What we stand for as a party, that doesn't change. It is who we are at our core, and we want candidates that represent who we are to our core. Sometimes the candidates that we like get through the primary, sometimes they don't. But standing up on our party platform is what is expected of Republicans. And that you can quote me on.
Yeah. And, and I was just going to say, as the candidate, I knew coming in with, kind of being, I say thrown in, I sort of jumped in on my own, but into the deep end of the pool. And, especially in this role, I knew that I had to claw my way out. And I knew that. And I knew how hard I needed to work. And it was close. I mean, I'm not going to, I think at the end it was about 4.5 points, I think, that separated the two of us, 7.5 on election night, but mail-in ballots, which we all love. But it is, from a candidate's point of view, are there people that were upset that my opponent didn't make it? Yes, they were. But it means so much to the candidate when you come up to them and say, I know how you, felt about, X, Y, and Z or whatever, but I support you and I'm so happy that you made it through, and nobody can doubt your work ethic or, whatever they say to you. And so it does mean a lot to the candidate. It really does. So, just from a candidate's point of view, it does mean a lot when you come up and say, hey, you might not have been the horse that I backed, but now you are, and I'm here and you let me know whatever you need. And, it does mean something.
I think it's important. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. I think, there's a level of team spirit that has to go along with that. It's the same thing with inter-party elections. They should not be nasty. Inter-party elections should not be. I mean, quite literally, you're fighting over who's going to do the work. I mean, it just seems counterintuitive.
Did you tell my opponent that? I don't think he knew that. I don't think he knew.
Right. It's like, who's going to do the heavy lifting? It's going to be me, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I think one of the things that we can all learn moving forward from this nastier than usual election cycle is that at the end of the day, we are the only thing that's standing between us and Maryland becoming California. I mean, if we're being very honest, we have got to kind of move past what we may have felt before. And again, focus on the bigger picture. The bigger picture is bleak. I mean, I don't know if people remember Martin O'Malley, but I still remember the taxes and how incensed Marylanders were when he attempted to tax the rain. I wrote a letter that said, please turn mine off. I live close to a river. If I need water, I just go down and get some, but please go ahead and disconnect me preemptively because I'm not paying you for the rain. Marylanders, that was the straw. That was the straw that broke our backs. Needless to say, at the rate this economy is going, you should hang on to your checkbooks, friends. If this Republican nominee, Dan Cox, does not get elected governor, if we don't elect these county executives that are Republicans, across the board, a straight Republican ticket is the way that we stand up and defend our state, our counties, our homes, our children's education. We have got to get very serious about what these elections mean here in Maryland. I think the Republican Party here in Maryland is diverse, and I love that. I love our diversity of thought. I love that we have a spectrum of Republicanism, and it's a beautiful, wonderful spectrum. But we should focus on the Republican part, right? This is the time. This is the battle time now. We have got to dig down, roll up our sleeves, and do what it takes to make sure Republicans are elected up and down the ticket. And that is absolutely what we should be doing. Corinne, do you have a last word?
No, I think you put it beautifully, Nicole, and you do such a great job with that. So I appreciate, you going around to all the different counties and trying to get people on board with that message.
Thank you. I have a new engine, so
far out apparently.
Julie, as our wonderful guest and my dear friend, this has been so fun. It's like having coffee with my friends,
I know. It was great. Thank you both for having me. And I look forward to, if anybody has any questions or wants to contact me, I mean, please feel free. I'm new, but hey, we're learning every single day. And so, yeah, we're just, like I said, plugging along. So, and if anybody has any advice, please feel free to send it our way. It's our first time doing a general, and we are starting to definitely see the differences. So,
So where can people reach you? Your email address or a website would be great.
Yeah, so we're, online, Giordano4ce.com. And of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All of the socials, folks. Absolutely all of the socials. Any last word, Julie? Is that everything you've got? I'm trying to think. The Super Saturday that's coming up on the 17th would be another good time to talk about how wonderful Wicomico is. We've got some people coming up to knock some doors, which should be a great day. I know that there's also other events on the shore that day, but You could two-fist it. I'm two-fisting.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's a very busy day,
Yeah.
very busy day, but we're throwing some things around. There's a heritage parade in Sharptown, and then we've got the door knocking event. But it will be great. It's great. I'd rather have, a lot to do than just kind of sitting around like wondering what to do. So I think that that's great. And the fact that, people are coming down, I think is just fantastic. And so we are going to tackle District 2 and, make sure to kind of like go out, and it's going to be great because District 2 is so wonderful because it touches Donna Bradshaw and Chris Adams and Carl Anderson and Mary Beth Caroso. So it's, and of course me. So it encompasses a lot of us. And so we're able to hit a lot and get a lot done that day. So
it sounds like a plan. It's going to be great. I cannot wait. I'll be doing a quick change at the ROFO because we've got Constitution Day in Talbot. Talbot. I'm getting close. My Eastern Shore English is getting better. Guys, it's a little bit better. I'm working on it. But it's been a wonderful show. I don't know if Dwight will let me host by myself again. But if he does, Corinne, I'm putting you down for co-host. I had a great time.
Okay. Thank you. It was fun. I always enjoy hanging out with you. It was great to chat with you, Julie.
Yeah, you too, always.
Yep, I gotta go put the kids to bed soon here. So
yeah, Boogie Mom. Yeah, mine's on his way home from boxing, so I'm sure he's gonna walk in the door any moment. So
good night, Madam Chairman.
Good night, Claire.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.